Obedience is better than sacrifice is a phrase derived from 1 Samuel 15:22, where the prophet Samuel rebukes King Saul for disobeying God's command. In this passage, King Saul was instructed by God to completely destroy the Amalekites and their possessions. However, Saul disobeyed by sparing King Agag and the best of the livestock, intending to offer them as sacrifices to God. Samuel then confronts Saul and says, "Does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams." The core message is that God desires a heart aligned with His will more than ritualistic offerings. Sacrifices were a significant part of Israelite worship, but they were not a substitute for obedience. Without obedience, sacrifices lose their meaning. Psalm 51:16 and 17 emphasizes that God values a humble and repentant heart over ritualistic actions. Obedience is an expression of trust in God's wisdom and goodness. When believers obey, they demonstrate faith that God's commands are for their ultimate good. Saul's disobedience revealed his lack of trust in God's instruction. In John 14:15, Jesus emphasizes that love for Him is demonstrated through obedience to His teachings. Sacrifices, rituals, or any form of worship must be accompanied by a life of obedience. Mere outward acts cannot compensate for a heart that disobeys God's commands. In Isaiah 1:11-17, we see that God rejects the empty sacrifices of His people because they are accompanied by injustice and disobedience. God calls for justice, righteousness, and obedience as true worship. Deuteronomy 28:1 and 2 highlights that obedience brings blessings and aligns believers with God's will. Obedience is also about living out one's faith in daily actions. Christians are called to live in a way that reflects God's commandments, not just perform religious duties. While personal sacrifices such as giving time, money, or resources are important, they should stem from a heart of obedience and love for God, rather than as a substitute for following His commands. In essence, obedience is better than sacrifice teaches that God values our willingness to follow His commands and live in alignment with His will more than ritualistic or outward expressions of devotion. True worship involves both a heart and life submitted to God, where actions reflect genuine obedience and faith. This principle underscores that a relationship with God is based on trust, love, and obedience, not merely external religious practices. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more uplifting content. Stay blessed.